Hey, folks. We are back again this week, and with episode number 47 of This Week in MeteorJS, we are talking about the official release of Meteor 3.0. Now, you might ask yourself, what does that mean? What's the big difference between all the 3.0 stuff we've been talking about before? And why is it different now? Why are we doing an episode on this? Well, you'll find out more today. We have with us a good friend from Meteor Software. And with that, let me just say you are watching or listening to This Week in MeteorJS, a weekly podcast of the Meteor Dispatches podcast. I said that wrong, didn't I? In any case, as I said before, this is episode 47. My name is Alim Gafar. I'm streaming to you live from New York City. Jan?
I'm Dvorak, streaming to you from Prague.
This is Nacho. I'm streaming from Spain.
And Nacho is joining us from Meteor Software. But first, let's get straight to the news. There is a lot of craziness going on this week, and especially today. Overnight, there were some issues that occurred with Microsoft products. Now, if you woke up this morning and found that your apps were offline and you're using Windows with Azure, you might be part of a global outage due to a misconfigured CrowdStrike update to its Falcon sensor product. Wired magazine or website reporter Matt Burgess reported that there were some issues that reflected from this outage that affected U.S. Let me slow down. U.S., UK, European, and Australian services. Now, we're uncertain on whether or not that has also affected Middle Eastern or Asian countries and services because we haven't seen any reports on it. But Wired reported on this. It said that it had taken down Sky News, United, Delta, and American Airlines all around have issued a global ground stop, meaning there are no takeoffs on its planes until this issue is resolved. And in the UK, the train networks and train networks have been affected, as have patient records access. So there's been an outage on those also. So Europe and the East basically been dealing with that.
Update.
Please, let me finish, please.
Yeah, sorry.
Have already been finished. Have already been affected by this, but where it's really news is on the Western Hemisphere because most companies are just waking up to this, and this is going to be big news to them. It's going to be a big surprise because what you end up seeing is a looping blue screen of death. There is a workaround to this issue that CrowdStrike has posted on Twitter/X, which is to reboot Windows into safe mode or in the Windows recovery and go to the System 32 drivers CrowdStrike folder, find a file matching a certain format, remove them, and then boot back normally or restore to a previous saved version if you have backups. So the problem with this also is that it requires that this patch be applied manually, service by machine by machine. And anyway, that's kind of where things are. I'm sorry I rushed this and there was a little bit of mess up there, but go ahead, Jan. You had something to add?
Yeah, I just an update, from at least from the Czech news and from what I heard in radio as I was coming to the studio here. This is worldwide. I've heard about this, in Vietnam, of course, here in Czechia as well, also Japan and other places. So it's at this point it's definitely worldwide.
Okay, so this is affecting all regions as far as we know it. Yeah, I was going by what I had actual material on. Now, this is unrelated to an earlier problem that Meteor had. Not Meteor, I'm sorry, Microsoft had. Microsoft's having a really bad day. Apparently, there was also an outage in the central US region for their Azure services that also affected their Windows 365 subscription services. My understanding is now that that's been restored, but Windows 365 performance is severely degraded. And again, that is something else that is continuing. It's an evolving story. So just want to let you guys know that if you woke up and you're seeing this, you're not alone. There are others that are going through it, and it's not anything that you might have done. This is something that's affecting most of the Windows platform worldwide that's hosted by Microsoft. So, I think this is a reflection. I had a little note to myself here that this is really a reflection on just how fragile our systems are due to different interdependencies. The 365, Windows 365, and the Azure issue that is happening in the central area, that the Azure issue has been taken care of, reflects one element of it. But I think the other element also is, this dependency on other services like CrowdStrike to provide endpoint security, where they uploaded a malformed configuration, and that is now bringing down the entire system, and they're still looking to find a better patch solution than what they've offered as the workaround. So again, evolving story. And with that, I think we have some happier news, don't we, Jan?
All right, let's jump into the we call it regular news, this time from the world of Node.js, which also will affect Meteor in the future. There has been a discussion since the beginning of the month about exposing SQLite for Node.js client. Funnily enough, once I noticed this story, they've already done a demo implementation and actually released a version of Meteor 22.5, where if you look here carefully at the nodes, it seems add Node SQLite module. So that one is now available, and you can see here they have documentation. So this is, I would say, very exciting news for Node.js. It kind of follows to what Dino and Bun have been doing as well. But right now there is a bit of a hiccup there. Speaking of failures today, that you should not update to Node 23.5 because there is a bug. So yeah, you're recommended to stay downgraded at 22.4.1 until they can fix it, which the fix is underway and they're looking into it. So this is 13 hours. So I think nobody is having a good day today. So I think I will refrain from releasing anything at all because it just is not going away. But if you are so inclined, I've started a discussion about Node SQLite in Meteor, and I'm kind of looking for feedback from everybody. What do you think? We should be using it for. What should be the best use case in Meteor, and so on, so that we kind of get ahead of, so that once we upgrade to Node 22.5 or 22.6. Or better in Meteor, then we have at least some idea we can kind of move forward on to this topic and see, or kind of have more direct route and can go somewhere. So let me know what your ideas are, and you can this way also contribute to how Meteor is going to look in the future. So don't be afraid to jump into the discussion. I've shared my thoughts. Now it's your turn.
And guys, please hit the like button, smash it, and let people know that you are appreciating the work that we're doing here. The likes that we've gotten so far have been able to elevate us a little bit more. We have gotten, I think we're now at 238 subscribers. So we are growing. We really want to get to that 250 by the end of the month, or 300 if that's my stretch goal, if we can get closer to that. But in the meantime, hit that like button. Let's move on. The next thing that we have on the list here is some issues with NPM security. We've been watching this for a bit. We've been noticing different fragilities in the system, so to speak. And I don't want to dwell because it feels like we've been dwelling on dark news. So all I'm going to tell you is that there are a couple of good articles here. Unverified NPM account takeover vulnerability for sale on dark web. It isn't confirmed. It's by Sarah Gooding at the Socket blog. That's the article. We'll give you the link in the newsletter this weekend. There is another security-related article with regard to NPM, and this one is entitled, "Here's How Carefully Concealed Backdoor and Fake AWS Files Escape Mainstream's Notice." It is an amazing read. I think you should read that article, and you know, I don't want you to be chilled by it, but it's certainly is some fascinating story behind how a submission to NPM has been able to escape the scanners that look for malware by using stenographic techniques, which is a technique of putting data into or information into images, where they embedded code into an image that was then able to, you know, set up this backdoor. So again, they're getting very sophisticated here, and I think this is an area of concern. But there is a third article that offers some hope, and there's an article called "Supply Chain Security in NPM. We Can Be Optimistic About the Future." It's by Robat Williams from the Scott Logic blog, where he talks about finding a way to ensure the provenance of submissions to NPM on packages. So trying to make sure that we have an escape, or not really an escape, but a route to verify who are the people that are submitting things and whether or not a submission is valid. So I want you to take a look at these articles, check them out. We can have a discussion on them either at the forums, back here in the chat, or in the comments. So with that, I'm going to move on.
Yes, and it's back to me with more of a cheery news. Let's skip right through the big kahuna in the room why everybody is tuning in today, and that is that Meteor 3 has been finally released. It's been 2 or 3 years in development. Finally, we got the official release. For me, big sigh of relief. Finally got it done, and now we're just finishing off the packages and everything else. You will not get this as a recommended at this point. That's always the case. After the official release happens, there is some delay before it becomes recommended, and that allows, like in our case, there is already version 3.0.1, a patch release, so that fixed a few issues with the packages and other things, and another is already in development. I'll leave Nacho to talk more about all the juicy details later. I kind of want to also point out, and I'm going to put this in the chat as well, that I also created a Meteor 3 release link article, and it would be very nice if you could, guys, jump in and help, kind of upvote it, add comments. The usual, I would, kind of like to encourage you to add something more profound than just great news, congrats, so that it doesn't seem just like we are just like bombing it and trying to upload it, which we are trying to, but it doesn't have to necessarily look like that. I will be adding my comments later as well. Also,
so I'm sorry, what are you looking for? Like what it means to you, or what you've been looking forward to, or something like that? You want something?
Yes, or it's going to be related to maybe ask a question to start a discussion. That I think would be also nice there, or kind of could be like what to expect next, or why is this important, and all the classical questions that you can ask, or something that you can add into something more profound than just great news, let's go team, would be appreciated in that regard. Speaking of Meteor 3, we also cannot have Meteor without Blaze, so Blaze 3 is out as well. So that's good news. And with that, now Puck is in the corner of the community to update all the packages. When it comes to Meteor community packages, I have been all week updating and publishing packages. Quite a few have been already published as their final versions. Those are usually quite the more straightforward ones. Almost all the other ones have at least gotten a release candidate at this point. Big packages like ResUplog also have release candidates, and if you can help us out to kind of get it over the finish line, that would be very much welcome. So check out what are your dependencies, and let's get this finished. And finally, there is an upcoming event, the Renaissance of MeteorJS, July 29th to August 1st. So it will be again a series of live events, starting with July 29th, the state of MeteorJS in 2024. Understand the potential of the platform on July 30th. July 31st, there will be a look on MeteorJS on Galaxy Cloud. And August 1st, there will be a chat with the MeteorJS team. So check that out. There also is like a big official website where you can sign up to get reminders. So I think around that time, and not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that will be probably around the time when Meteor 3 is going to get as a recommended release.
Yeah, we are on that transition. Yeah.
I see Gabriel Gua in the chat here. Gabriel, we haven't seen you in ages. Hopefully things are going good, and I think he's over at Discourse, right?
Yes, at least as far as I know, but he can tell us himself in the chat as well. Yeah.
Well, it's great. I want to just say hello to the folks in the chat. Let me just run through them quickly. It's Jan P. from Germany. Hey, Jan. Gabs, who is the Meteor Software Developer Advocate, is over there. I see Harry Adele. Hey, Harry. Hope all is well. And let's see, who else do we have here? Simon again. Simon's one of the folks that's always with us. Hey, Simon. And I think Simon's one of the few people besides Harry. Harry is from Egypt. Simon is someplace else on the African continent. I wish I knew where. Maybe he'll tell me in a bit. We have another Gabriel, as I said before. It seems all of our developer advocates in the last couple have to have the name Gabriel before they can join the Meteor team. And then I see Felipe is here again. Kelly is here. And so is Fred. So, hey, guys, good to see you all. All right. And with that, listen, if you're not yet subscribed, you've been lurking around, you've been trying to figure out what this channel is all about, I think you know what we're about. We're about Meteor. We're about JavaScript. We're about developer enhancement and improving your skill set and growing as developers here. So if you're all about that, you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button, join us, be official. Don't be shy. We like you. All right. And with that, I've got to do a couple of things here. We're going to be a little sophisticated today. We are going into our Understanding Meteor section. Now, normally we screw this up somehow, but we always get it done. We always say what it is about. But this time we've got like a little bit of a background here to show the hosting environment that Galaxy provides. So Galaxy provides purpose-built hosting for Meteor Software. And in the future, it may take on your other JavaScript projects. And with that, we have now our guest, Nacho Kodner. Nacho.
Yeah. La Descan.
Yeah, I know. My mouth is just not working properly, Nacho. So anyway, I just want to bring you in now, and we're going to have a little bit of conversation about 3.0 because we've talked about it so much. We've had presentations about 3.0 before. I think the confusion that some people have now are, around really kind of understanding what does this mean? What does a release mean versus these RC, these release candidates I'm getting? What is that? How does that differ from the RCs? What does it mean that we've gotten to this goalpost? what is this release that we're talking about? We talk about it all the time. Now we've hit the goalpost. So, can you give us a little bit more insight into this, please?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, to answer your question, I think first we need to understand a little bit of the context of why we needed to have Meteor 3 in the first place. And as you know, now I'm going to mention Meteor 2 as Meteor Legacy version because it's already that. And when we have Meteor 2, those times it was built in a time that JavaScript was describing still the standards, was evolving as a language. So in that time, Meteor wanted to provide a tool set for developers to make really easy for them to develop multi-platform applications. And for doing that, they were integrated in the tool itself many experimental methods, like the one that has produced a breaking change in Meteor Legacy that has left us to the need of Meteor 3, which is the asynchronous way of managing the code. That time, we only had available the fibers. And at this point, fibers had a lot of potential because it looks like synchronous code, but behind the scenes is behaving as synchronous. But at some point, Node.js and JavaScript adopted a standard, which was using async await statements. That deprecated completely the fibers. We had a breaking change, and we started to think about Meteor 3 in the first place. I think it happened 3 years ago or something like that. And the only way for any Meteor application and the Meteor framework itself to stay modern was to transit into a deep modification of the core to be able to get sorted the way we handle asynchronous code. So going from alphas to RC has been our way from going into proof of concepts on how to do this transition, because we needed the what we wanted to do, but not the how. So going through alphas, through beta, and through the RC has been our way to validate those concepts and to come from unstable releases to more stable releases. Also, thanks to the community that has provided the feedback. So the last RCs from the official version has been our way to fix all the important issues that we have been seeing that could make the experience a little bit bad for developers. So official is there already.
Sounds like a lot of work. So in summary, it's, modern JavaScript uses promises. And back then, when Meteor first came about, the whole promise framework wasn't quite figured out. It was still very experimental. Fibers was along the lines of another way to handle the concept of promises. And when Node and JavaScript finally settled on a model, it wasn't fibers. And there was a breaking change at Node 16, right? That prevented fibers from moving forward. And so that's why we are where we are. That's really good context in history. I appreciate that very much. And understanding also that the RCs were a way for us to fix some issues that we found along the way before we could say we finally hit the goal of what we want 3.0 to be, right? I think that's what you basically said here is where we are. So that's awesome. So what does that mean next for 3.0? Like, what does the 3.0 mean for developers? Especially, like, we want to invite more developers in. We want to get new developers coming in to using Meteor, right? So for the folks that are coming in, discovering Meteor for the first time, what should they be thinking about? What should they be doing? Should they be looking at 2 at all, or just 3? There are a lot of questions that surround this. Like, if I'm coming to Meteor for the first time, how would you suggest that I discover Meteor, so to speak? And then at the same time, we have a lot of legacy applications out there, developers that have built applications already. Like, what is the change in thought or conception that they should have about Meteor? Like, is Meteor legacy and contemporary Meteor fundamentally the same, or are there some significant differences in the way we need to think about how we build our code? So I know I've given you a lot there, but that's kind of like, I think, what we're all thinking at this point.
Yeah, okay, so what it means for newcomers? For newcomers, it means that they have available a tool that, yeah, maybe they don't know from the past. Maybe there are others that are coming back because Meteor is really mature about that, and maybe resonates a little bit with them because of the past. So Meteor 3 keeps being the same as Meteor 2, except now follows standards, now follows the way that Meteor or any JavaScript code has to integrate with other tools through the standards with async wait and all things there. Meteor continues to be a tool set that is going to simplify the development for multi-platform, for real-time applications, and to deliver updates on your apps by speed. So all features that we had in Meteor are still there for newcomers and also for existing ones. They just need to think about what they think in normal JavaScript development. What about the recommended version? At this point, we will recommend 3.0, even though it is not recommended yet. We are in a transition phase. So technically, it's already transitioned. We have already covered all the core challenges that was keeping us out from the JavaScript and normal ecosystem. So now that is unlocked. The next transition part that is going to happen is the content one. Because yes, we have new documentations for V3, and newcomers and existing can check them out and start from there. We also have an AI there available that you can ask everything to get started. But we still have some tasks to adapt the existing guides for Meteor 2.0 to Meteor 3. Guides to use React, Vue, or any other kind of Vue framework that you use for your application. Sure. This is still pending, even though the only thing that changes is the async API. The essential of Meteor are the same. They can start from there. They can start from the docs, and existing ones migrating their applications, important. We have docs and migration guide for that. But in this transition part, for making Meteor official recommended, we plan to provide more updates on content. But it's also important to say that this is not only for the Meteor core team, it's also important for existing developers to understand, Meteor existing developers, to understand that they can also start using Meteor 3 as a way to play with it with new standards, new packages, migrate existing packages, create content for education, and so on. So I think these are the challenges that we will get next in Meteor for both newcomers and existing ones.
It's, I mean, it's significant. I do want to ask you one question, though, and this is something that Daniel, what's Daniel's last name? Jan, do you remember? Begins with a D.
Daniel Dornhardt?
Dornhan, yes. So Daniel's brought up before that, you know, for him, some of the paradigm or the way that Meteor handles things is going to be different. For instance, there is some specific sync behavior that you get from fibers that does not translate into this new async await model. And I'm not entirely familiar with this, Jan. I think you might be more familiar, but you know what I'm talking about. It's the sync behavior that you get out of Meteor that doesn't translate easily over to async. And I think for some existing developers, if they make the assumption that they get this kind of behavior out of the box, that is something that they're going to have to adapt to with 3.0. Would you say that I'm incorrect in saying that, or is this a concern? And do you think if it is a concern, is it easily overcome?
I would definitely say it's a concern. I think we might have seen, not specifically to this, but to other things. So moving to async changed the behavior that we were expecting, in this case with DDP messages. That's currently being also further investigated and improved to get it back as close to the original as it was.
Okay.
And sadly, that's something just to be aware of, and that's something that we'll have to deal for as long as there are updates, to any software that we use.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's just the nature of breaking changes sometimes, isn't it? I mean, the
Yeah.
price to stay current on a shared platform, right? So that is something there. And so, Nacho, I also tasked you with the with the question. I don't know if this is a fair question, but the question was like, what is next for Meteor after all the bug fixes? After we've fully rolled into 3.0, is there 4.0 on the horizon? Can we start dreaming about, let's try to figure out how we can make Meteor make some noise again in the Node and JavaScript community by really trying to advance the state of the art for developers? Or are we trying to be a little too ambitious by saying maybe we can go down that road? What are your thoughts? And I know these are personal thoughts now, not official Meteor Software thoughts.
Yeah, it's more or less, I mean, could be official, but not by me that I'm working directly for Meteor, but for anyone that wants to open a discussion about what needs to be the next step. It's important to remember that the only way that Meteor exists is to support the developers as using the platform, right? So it's important to hear what the community has to say about that, and about what we think we could be the next steps in the future in terms of technology. You have also raised up a very important question that is about how to communicate with the community beyond our community. This is another interesting topic. But technically wise, what we want to do, or we are thinking about, is to improve, for instance, the TypeScript infrastructure. I'm not talking about completely rewrite the core, because this is not going to provide extra value for final developers, right? But I'm talking about that we want to expose better our types. We already are doing this, but we want to do it better, to integrate into their tools. And also, as part of the new implementation, adopt them to have them straight away, those types. This, I think, will be one idea on actions for next. Another idea is the change stream as our way to expand the possibilities that Meteor has to manage real-time capabilities. Change stream came up as being a more simple approach than uplog. This is a technical term specifically in Meteor, but we are using like other way to manage that. And it's also more performance. So there is some discussions about how to manage and improve the real-time capabilities. And finally, and this is a long requested feature for people, developers, that they want to improve their experience with the bundler, having things like tree-shaking or other kind of modern bundler within. We know the what. We still don't know the how, even though we have several paths for going on. But yeah, these will be my three important takes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last one? I didn't quite understand it or hear it well.
Yeah, the third one is about the bundler, about, for instance, Bit or any other approach we want the what, the how is a little bit incognito.
I mean, I have some suggestions, and it's really about, I mean, changing the structure of Meteor, not necessarily changing Meteor itself. One of the things I think would make Meteor even more attractive is if we can have if we can relook at the code and create clear boundaries between the different functional parts of it, so that you have clean interfaces. So if somebody says, I like Meteor as an idea and I don't mind this monolith, but this particular component that you're using that is Meteor, I have something better. And because they're well-defined interfaces, I can come in and I can integrate, my other component into Meteor and take out this other well-defined portion. And it's really a matter, I think, of really going through Meteor and figuring out where can you have these natural boundaries, and you could put them in. And then again, if we can make Meteor, if we could decompose Meteor in a way that allows it to be more composable as a platform, I think then you have something that structurally is more attractive to a lot of people at the outside, because they may come in and they say, well, I like the idea of Meteor, I don't like Meteor, right, in the way that it's put together because X, Y, and Z. I want to bring my own bundler in. Well, there's a defined set of interfaces that tells me how to, remove the existing bundler and use a custom bundler, or override the existing bundler if that's the case. Or if there is some, they don't like Tracker, for instance. And I know Tracker is embedded in the core. I don't know whether or not this is doable, but if it's to say, look, we have our own other selective reactive model that we'd like to be able to bring in and use, and I can do that in a few days because there are some well-defined interfaces, and maybe there's a configuration file, or maybe there is some other way that I need to be able to utilize an API to do these kinds of replacements. I think when you are able to do something like this, you really have a very robust alternative to other full stack packages out there. And I think that can be really cool. I think the idea of considering different hydration models, especially hydration that is done on the server side, that is being suggested by things like islands and so on. I think we need to start looking at those models out there and figuring out what is actually very effective and useful. What problems are they solving? Can we solve the same problems? And how, do we need to do it our own way, or are there models from that we can take and utilize in Meteor, so we are staying on board with the progress that's being made in the rest of the community? And I'm not saying that these solutions that are being looked at from frameworks like Astro and Quick are relevant to Meteor, but I think we want to be able to walk into those conversations and explain why either we can do it or we don't need to do it as part of the Meteor framework, right? Because we need to be able to kind of get out there and sell the story. But to sell the story, we also need to understand what modern problems are and how Meteor can address them. And again, like I said, if we have addressed it for a very long time and it's not an issue, then we can talk about that. But at the same time, I think if there are new things, and I think there are lots of really interesting and new things that are happening, then we should go down there. I read an article recently where they talked about how React actually, figures out the DOM updates by doing this kind of like, two-tree diffing. And somebody made the observation that the two-tree diffing was really, more meant for state management, not for speed. And there are many situations where you might have like sister branches that are not in the same space. Trying to diff those is very expensive. And so it was kind of like a very interesting thing to read about this and understand that there are places where performance is not good. But, and that the original intention got morphed into a different explanation. So I think that there is some opportunity to start taking a look at what we have, what other people are doing and try to figure out, like, did the original intention of something become morphed into something else, and then we don't necessarily see what the benefit is, and therefore we should be looking at some other solutions. I don't know if I said that in a way that made sense, or if I just made this completely confusing.
Yeah, I would like to kind of, sorry, Nacho, just very kind of pick to it or maybe add to it, because what I see with this is over the years there has been, I'll call it a delusion, because originally Meteor started like a very opinionated, and I think going forward in that, Meteor should stay or should kind of maybe return back to the roots of being more opinionated, at least in the guidance.
Yep.
At the minimum, and potentially, because one of the big things, part of its opinionation was that we had UI packages that we can with accounts, you install accounts UI and you got all the UI and just had to include templates. That today, given how everything has spread, is quite a difficult task, but I think it's something definitely that might be considered discussion, because there's also, I would say, would help developers, especially new ones, that if they learn Meteor and go to a Meteor company, it's likely that the Meteor company is going to be using similar things as is the defaults or as are in the guidance, because then if it's in the guidance, if it's like, for example, in the UI packages and everything, they have much more I would say benefit from that they don't have to maintain that necessarily themselves. So it's again a bit of an outsourcing, which we've discussed in our episode. So back to you, Nacho. Sorry to jumping in there.
No, I think it's fine. I mean, in my opinion, Meteor has been really opinionated, but I think this has been, for me, actually the strong point of Meteor, because it has made developers and anyone using it to forget about boring stuff and just trying to deliver something in the shape of accounts packages with already some visuals, or other kinds of packages, the real-time API for things that has demo effect that, in my experience, many people has loved all this part. And many other things, the Cordova integrations with native to produce applications on these several devices, and so on. So it has been a tool that has been really opinionated, but I think this is the strong point of Meteor. And about making it more flexible, I really think that currently Meteor, and above all in Meteor 3, because now follows the standards, can be reintegrated in anything that you can do in the NPM ecosystem. You can include everything there, maybe not as the core part, not as a perfect piece within the Meteor core, but as an layer above that. So I think limitations are not, but the thing is that we are deciding for the developer to take that decision, whether if they want to be opinionated and just worry about result, or to try to make adaptations of new tools or unlock new possibilities, and etc. This can also take part of the community itself. It doesn't have to be in the core, right? This is my point here as well.
Yeah, I think kind of part of that, I think, is having amazing starters and templates, which will be something I will be trying about. And as was kind of displayed here, I kind of want to also get here from Kelly what he thinks of the future. In his case, it's having kind of first class TypeScript support, which definitely can use some improvements. We already have some discussion on that on the forums, so I think definitely something to look into forward. But I also kind of want to include my idea, since Alim had a chance to go. I think in addition to all what was mentioned, probably especially in the short term, should be really an amazing testing story, because right now I find testing cumbersome, no matter the tech I use. but Meteor especially. And I think especially when it comes, for example, to integrating with storybooks, there should be some sort of official plugin or something that really could highlight or really, take into account a lot of the stuff that are Meteor specific, like the accounts system, and integrated into that. I think for Jan Küster, he has been very much lately about having like an SDK to be able to use DDP and other specific Meteor parts in other systems, or at least call to them, so that there could be more of a integrations with the rest of the ecosystem, so that Meteor isn't kind of like island of its own. And last two, very quickly, I would say improvements in the offline capabilities. If today, with all the failures, was any indicators, I think that will be needed more and more for the application to survive on its own and then reconnect to the server later and sync all the data. And kind of returning back to the issue of bundler, as much as it pains me, I think right now Vite is kind of the de facto standard, and everybody seems to love it. So I think migrating to that to kind of get all the benefits of Vite and reduce the maintenance on Meteor Software and all the other community contributors, so that that I would say that manpower and time could be used for other parts would be very good. Plus, it would allow people who know Vite to come in and create additional new cool stuff. So, of course, it has downside. For example, like inline imports would be one of the things that we would lose. So we'll have to make this calculation, and and that might be probably as Harry was mentioning later or earlier in the program in the comments, something that maybe Meteor 4 could be all about. And I think that's all for my notes that I have here.
So let me just throw something in before, when I talked about making these interfaces and making it more decomposable, I do believe, and I think you guys all know that, I think one of the strengths of Meteor also is its opinionated stack. The idea is, I think there are folks that, start from the ground up, right? They assemble everything from scratch. And then there are folks that come in and they don't want to deal with the Crofton infrastructure. And so an opinionated stack like Meteor is really, really good. I think Meteor, kind of hits a little bit of both, where you can walk in and you could say, I want to be able to build something. But again, the idea I have with having these nicely defined interfaces that you could sort of like remove things and bring things in that suit you, is that it allows for two things. One is, if you understand different technologies better, you can bring them into the play. And there is a fairly straightforward way and a consistent way of being able to either override or replace specific components. The other is augmentation. And then, if evolution, like as your application becomes more sophisticated, you might find that there are these interfaces into which you can plug in different pieces of technology into Meteor and then scale it out or build it to a way that you need to use it. So that's a really abstract idea. I don't know how doable it is, but I think that's one of the things that could benefit, but it certainly in no way overrides any of the suggestions that any of you guys are making. I would say, by the way, the idea of going to, again, this is why I think the idea of having these interfaces is sound, is that going to different standards, like for instance, we're on React today, but then there's a question whether or not React is really cares about Meteor, and we can have a discussion about that and another topic. But we've gone down that path, and having deep integrations or having sort of tight cohesions makes it a little difficult if other projects decide to go down a different path, and then it's not either a natural fit or it's not a good evolution, and something else is taking over. So I think Vite, as you said, is the popular guy on the block. It certainly hits a lot of pain points for a lot of people, but I don't know that I would agree with you that using Vite as an official replacement might be the best route. I think what would be better is being able to bring Vite in, easily, and have that be a different default option for people. I could see that as being a good route, because if another build tool shows up that is better and gets better adoption, then we'd have to do a lot of work pulling Vite out of the guts and putting something else in. So, as you said, if the goal is to free up resources so that they could focus on different parts of Meteor and really, build those dreams out, I think that might be the way to go about it. But I think on substance, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
A lot of ideas on the how. Nacho, you've got some final words you want to put in here before we roll on to the next things?
No, I mean, I have understood. I think, it's good that whenever we design something, try to be as abstract as possible to be able to replace it easily. We have been talking about this actually in our internal talks. So the idea of, okay, maybe we make Vite as the default.
Yep.
But if we want to switch it by the reason that you have said, we can do it as well. So try to think in a way of integrating this tool on the core as a package, whatever it is the way, that can easily be replaced if we need it in the future, and try to not commit the same maybe mistakes that we have had in the past to have something really into the core,
Yeah,
So,
it's going like really to making sure that it's as extensible as possible.
Yeah.
All right, Nacho, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate your time and your insights, and your willingness to share as you have with us today. Very much so.
Thank you.
All right. You can stick around if you want to, or if you want to pop off, that's okay also. But we're going to head on next to some useful resources. Jan?
Yes, but first of all, if you find this interesting and would like to see more of this, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We do this every Friday. I have also my own show every Monday, and every other Wednesday I do Meteor Help Desk. So there's more stuff around going on. And I would also
one last thing we should probably mention that's been scrolling down below. You get $60 of free credits if you go and you try out Galaxy. Use the dispatches -60 coupon code in there, and you will get those credits if you're going to give it a try. So before I get rid of the banner. Okay, and
yes,
there we go.
I want to add also one last reminder. Also, usually on Fridays on the official Discord, there are hangouts with other Meteor developers so that you can get to know them, more personally, and maybe learn something extra about Meteor. Moving on, we have some useful resources that we found through the week. First of all, from Platform Matic from Matteo Colina, there is a guide to reading and writing Node.js streams. So this is if you go a little bit more deeper with, I would say, Node.js, or definitely a good stuff to learn. What are the Node.js streams? It's pretty much the kind of main thing around event-driven architecture and why you should care. I think every Meteor developer at least should have some little bit of understanding about this, because that might explain some of the specifics that are happening in the background. So give this a read. Very interesting article. And Alim, what do you have for us?
Yeah, in the same sort of in the same keeping in the same frame thread thought space, there is an opportunity for you if you're not quite sure about asynchronous JavaScript. There is a resource on Free Code Camp brought to you by Bo Carnes. It's a couple of hours, and it's learn asynchronous JavaScript. Now, I'm going to take this myself because although I think I understand it, there might be things that I don't quite get. And to be honest with you, there are things that I get a little confused about from time to time about it. So I thought that this might be a good resource to share with everyone. Go ahead.
Sounds good. And
I thought you had something to add there.
No. I have only shout-outs remaining.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from you, Alim?
No, I'm good with that.
All right. I have 2 shout-outs from, I could say, the showcase of Meteor. First of all, we have Daniel Shkuri. Apologies of Just Do fame. He has a real-time open source or ad hoc chat application built on Meteor. So that's pretty much a chat application. You just pop in, no user accounts, just write the username, and you go. So definitely check it out. I am looking forward in the future to do probably like a chat application with socialized messaging, which has user accounts, but again, depends of when I can get around to actually code it in. And the second, which is kind of like to say a double feature, we have here a showcase in regards to 2 2 applications run on Meteor that are part or are helping stuff around the Meteor or the Olympics in Paris. And that's the Circles and then Itineraries, as you can guess from the name and from me trying to do here some weird accents. It's French. And I have reached out to the guys, to Victor specifically, and to see if we can do more of a larger showcase in the future. So these, as it stays here, is one is specifically for company registration for their vehicles, and then a Google-like map for traffic regulations and specific application around that. So look forward in the future. We'll probably do a bit bigger feature on this to see what it does, how it uses Meteor, and all that fun stuff.
We'd love to get them back here to do a breakdown after the Olympics. The Olympics start today. So it's really exciting because, I mean, these are one of those types of events that get a tremendous amount of traffic, very early. Now, the question is, what's the traffic size to something like this, if it's sort of like the internal use case applications? But it doesn't matter. I think it's really cool that Meteor is being used to help deliver the Olympics. And I think it's a really great story to hear about and to be able to share after they've gotten some sleep after the Olympics are over. And, they've addressed all the emergency issues that they're going to probably run into, just like everybody else that's offering services there. So really well done. Good job, guys.
Yeah. Speaking of emergencies, I have breaking news for you all. As we spoke about Node.js version 22.5.1 is out fixing the bug that they were telling you why you should not upgrade to 22.5. So now you can update to 22.5.1 and enjoy SQLite in Node.js. With that, Alim, any other reminders?
No, just some final reminders about sponsorships and open source. Meteor is an open source project. There are a lot of sister open source projects, especially the community packages that are being put together. So I want you to remember the folks that build open source. And if you enjoy using Meteor, you enjoy using the packages, whatever, go to your favorite developers, GitHub pages, give them a star. Let them know that you appreciate them. If they have some other ways that you could thank them, go to it. Do that. And as you can see that Jan here also has a sponsor page. You might want to check that out and see, what you want to do there with him. And with that, oh, hey, Henrique, I see that Henrique is in the chat right now. He's waving. Henrique is also on the core team at Meteor. So with that, I just want to wish you guys a great weekend. We'll see you again next week. All righty. And